At my promotion celebration, my father stood up and announced, "That raise should go to your sister, she needs it more than you do." My boss let out a short laugh and replied, "That's interesting, because she's not getting a single cent." That should have been one of the best nights of my life. I'd spent years grinding, taking extra shifts, handling nightmare projects, enduring office politics without complaint. And finally, all of that effort had paid off. I got the promotion I'd been chasing for what felt like forever, and with it, a life-changing raise. I could finally move out of my tiny apartment, start saving for a home, maybe even take a real vacation for once. So Mark, my boss, decided to host a small dinner. Nothing extravagant, just a nice evening at a classy restaurant with a few coworkers and my family. I wanted my parents to see what I had achieved, to witness what all those long nights and missed holidays had led to. But the moment my father opened his mouth, I realized I'd made a massive mistake inviting them. Everything had been going perfectly. We were mid-toast, the mood light, everyone laughing. Mark had just raised his glass to congratulate me and spoke about how much I'd done for the company. I was glowing. Then my father chimed in, completely straight-faced, and said, "Naturally, all that extra money will go to your sister. She needs the help more." The entire table went quiet. My stomach twisted. Maybe I heard him wrong? I turned to look at him, hoping it was just a poorly timed joke. But no. He was dead serious. I laughed nervously. "What?" He gave me this exasperated look, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Your sister's struggling. You know her situation. She's got kids, bills to pay. You don't have the same responsibilities." I sat there stunned while he casually took another sip of his drink. I felt everyone's eyes on me. Mark's. My coworkers. The weight of their silence was deafening. My mother nodded in agreement like this was perfectly normal. My sister, let's call her Nicole, couldn't even meet my eyes. Suddenly the menu was the most fascinating thing in the room. Mark set his glass down with a chuckle. "That's funny," he said dryly, "because she's not seeing a dime." My dad's brows knit together. "Come again?" Mark turned to me. "How much of a raise did you get?" I swallowed hard, my cheeks burning. 50%. He nodded. "Right. 50%, and every bit of that belongs to her," he said, nodding at me. "Because she worked for it." Then he faced my father, his tone turning icy. "I don't know what arrangement you thought was happening, but let me make this clear, you don't get to decide how she spends her paycheck. And neither does your other daughter." He gestured toward Nicole. "She's an adult. If she wants more money, she can earn it, just like your daughter did." My father's face darkened. "That's not how family works. We help each other." Mark leaned back, smile tight. "Help doesn't mean control. And it definitely doesn't mean entitlement." That was the moment everything unraveled. My mom slammed her palm on the table. "You don't speak to us that way," she snapped. "We're her parents. She wouldn't be where she is without us." Mark didn't flinch. "Funny. From where I'm sitting, she got here in spite of you." My dad's knuckles whitened around his glass. He turned to me, seething. "You're just going to sit there?" he hissed. "After everything we've done for you? After all we sacrificed, and you're going to be greedy? Let your own sister drown?" Nicole stayed quiet. As usual. She'd mastered the art of passive helplessness, always letting our parents go to war on her behalf. And suddenly, it all clicked. All those years. The guilt trips. The constant lectures about family duty. The way I was expected to be the responsible one, the dependable one, while Nicole got to float through life, shielded from consequences. I had grown up feeling thankful for basic things, like a roof over my head, a meal on the table. Things any parent should provide. But they used that to make me feel indebted. Like I owed them my future for doing the bare minimum. I had poured so much of myself into trying to be good enough. And they had taken and taken, never once wondering what I might want. I looked at Nicole. She finally glanced at me, and smirked. That was it. That was the moment I broke. I calmly set down my drink, took a breath, and said, "No. Silence. The whole table froze. My father leaned in, eyes narrowing. What did you say? My voice trembled, but I held firm. I said no. I'm not giving her my raise. I earned that money. It's mine. Nicole's expression shifted. Her eyes welled up and her lip quivered. But I really need it, she whispered. I'm barely making it. The kids. Dad cut in, voice rising. You cold, ungrateful little. Mark held up a hand. Careful. But Dad didn't care. He was beyond reason. We raised you better than this, he spat. You don't turn your back on your own blood. We gave you everything, and this is how you thank us? Mom jumped in. You think you got here on your own, she sneered. You think we didn't work our asses off so you could go to college? And now, just because you have a fancy job, you think you're above us? And then came the kicker. If you won't help your sister, my mother said coldly, don't expect us to support you anymore. I blinked. Support me? I stared at her, trying to process what she'd just said. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. All the bitterness and pain just spilled out. Support me? I echoed. You think I still need you? You stopped supporting me the second I turned 18. I paid my own tuition. Covered my own rent. Worked my way up without a dime from you. Dad's face drained of color. That's not. It is, I cut in. In college, who did you help, me, or Nicole? They said nothing. They didn't have to. Nicole, the one who dropped out. Bounced from place to place. Burned through every cent they handed her. And me, the one who juggled 2 jobs with full-time classes, who lived off instant noodles and barely scraped by while they kept bailing her out again and again. You didn't support me, I said. You left me to fend for myself. And now that I finally have something of my own, you want to take it? Dad growled, she has children. Of course. The ultimate excuse. Nicole had kids. So she got a blank check. And I was expected to sacrifice for her, again. I turned to her, gripping the table. You had a job, right? What happened? She sniffled. It didn't work out. Like the last one? And the one before that? No answer. I exhaled. I don't care. I am not responsible for you. Her mouth twisted. You're a selfish __, she shrieked. My kids are starving and you're showing off your stupid promotion? You don't even have a real family. What do you need money for? You're just going to waste it. And that was the last straw. I stood up with a loud, firm movement. The entire restaurant paused, their eyes fixed on me, but I couldn't have cared less. You know what, Nicole? I said, snatching my purse, figure it out yourself. And I walked out. I didn't look back, not when my mom started yelling after me, not when my dad slammed his fist on the table, and certainly not when Nicole started sobbing about how life was unfair. Here's the ironic part, right as I left, Mark, my incredible boss, stood up, tossed a $100 bill on the table, and followed me outside. The cold night air hit me as I stepped into the street, my heart raced, my hands were still trembling, but for the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of freedom. Mark caught up to me, a smirk on his face. Hell of a speech, he said. I let out a shaky laugh. You think they'll ever speak to me again? Mark shrugged. Do you even care? I thought about it, and for the first time in my life, the answer was no. For a few blissful days, I didn't respond to the endless texts, calls, and voicemails full of guilt trips and rage. I blocked my parents. I blocked Nicole. I thought I had finally closed that chapter. But I was wrong. One afternoon, while enjoying the quiet peace of my own hard-earned raise, my phone rang. It was the bank. Hi, we're calling to verify a transfer request. I frowned. Transfer request? Yes, a scheduled transfer from your account to a personal account under Nicole's name. The amount is substantial. My blood ran cold. I didn't make any transfer, I said, my voice tightening. The woman hesitated. Well, it was authorized through your online banking, and the login was from a recognized device. That's when I knew, Nicole. That manipulative, two-faced leech had somehow gained access to my account. I felt nauseous. Cancel it. Cancel everything. The woman sighed in relief. Already done. We had a feeling something wasn't right, but we needed to confirm. I hung up, my mind racing. Then, another call came in from a blocked number. I knew exactly who it was. I answered, placing it on speaker. What the hell did you do? Nicole's shrill voice screamed. I exhaled slowly. You really thought I wouldn't find out? I needed that money, she whined. I couldn't help but laugh. You mean my money, the one you tried to steal? I didn't steal it, she snapped. I just borrowed it. I was going to pay you back. Really? I said, with what job? Silence. And then, of course, came the tears. You don't understand, I have bills, the kids. I hung up. And then I called the police. I thought that would be the end of it. I pressed charges, not for a huge amount, since she hadn't completed the transfer, but enough to get the police involved. But what came next was beyond anything I imagined. Nicole wasn't working alone. 2 days later, I got another email from the bank. A second attempt had been made. This time, it wasn't just a transfer, it was a direct withdrawal, made in person, by my mother. I stared at the email in disbelief. My mom had gone into the bank, armed with whatever personal information she still had about me, and tried to empty my account, claiming I had authorized it because I was sick and needed her help. But the bank had flagged the attempt, thanks to Nicole's previous one. And my mom had no idea. She got caught red-handed. I called the bank immediately. While I was on the phone, a text came in from my dad. Dad, you've gone too far. You should have just given Nicole the money. Now look what you've done. You've forced our hand. You've forced our hand. That was the moment I knew. They were never my family. I forwarded everything to the cops. The police took it seriously. 2 fraudulent attempts, 1 digital, 1 in person. Nicole and my mom were both charged with fraud, attempted theft, and identity theft. When they were arrested, my dad lost it. He showed up at my apartment, pounding on the door, screaming about how I was tearing the family apart, that I was sending my own mother to jail. I stood behind the locked door, heart pounding, listening to the man who had never once protected me now screaming because I had finally protected myself. I said the last thing I would ever say to him. You did this to yourself. Then I called the cops. Even after everything, my dad wouldn't stop. Nicole got probation, my mom went back to jail. But my dad, he blamed me, not them, me. He called me every name in the book. He told every relative who would listen that I was cold, selfish, and evil for letting my own family suffer. At first, I blocked him, blocked everyone who took his side. But then, I found out something interesting. My parents had always been obsessed with appearances. To everyone else, they were the perfect family, the loving parents, the selfless givers. But that was a lie. And I had the proof. A month after my mom got out of jail, I got a message from an old family friend. Family friend, hey, I heard about what happened. I always knew they treated you badly. Glad you finally stood up for yourself. I was surprised. Before I could respond, they sent another message. Family friend, by the way, do you know about the loan? I blinked. The what? Turns out, my parents had been drowning in debt. They hadn't just spent their own money on Nicole, they had taken out a massive loan in my name. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I dug into it, my credit reports, bank records, everything. And there it was. A $50,000 loan, taken out under my social security number, forged signatures. They had stolen from me, again. I gathered everything, every piece of evidence that proved their betrayal. Then, I called a lawyer. With the help of my lawyer, I filed fraud charges against both of them. I took them to court. When they saw me walk into that courtroom, armed with documents and a fire in my eyes, they knew. They had finally messed with the wrong person. The case was open and shut. The verdict? My mom, back to jail. My dad, bankrupt. Nicole, ruined. And that loan? Nicole was on the hook for it too, I made sure of that. She had spent years living off stolen money, and she thought I'd just hand over my raise. She called me selfish for wanting to keep what I earned. So, I made her pay every last penny. She lost her car, her apartment, and had to move in with her deadbeat boyfriend's family just to survive. And me? I got everything back. The last time I saw my dad, he stood outside the courtroom, staring at me like I was the devil. You've destroyed this family, he spat. I smiled. No, I just finally stood up to the people who tried to destroy me. And then I walked away. I moved out of state, got a new job, a better one, bought a house just for me. I never spoke to them again. And for the first time in my life, I was free. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.